Tucked away amongst the mountains, valleys, and lush rainforests of Costa Rica sits a beautiful 800-acre resort called KINKARA Luxury Retreat. Created by David Comfort, KINKARA's sole purpose is to connect its guests with nature and allow them to experience the purity and magic within Costa Rica and within themselves. Hi, I'm Bobby Marsden, and welcome to the Glamptuary podcast. We're in Season 3, and this is Episode 1. In Season 3, we've decided to go global, and our first destination has us in Costa Rica. Our special guests are designer and creator of KINKARA, David Comfort, head of retreats, Megan Bowers, and head of operations, Jimena Mora. In this episode, we'll talk about the inspiration behind KINKARA and how David had an epiphany at a very special festival called Burning Man. At that festival, David realized he needed to make a change in his life, and that change resulted in KINKARA. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the Glamptuary podcast. Welcome everybody to the Glamptuary podcast. Jimena, Megan, David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Bobby. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we are excited to talk with you guys. David, I want to jump right in. You know, our listeners, our viewers, and me especially, I love getting into founder stories. I love going all the way back to kind of what inspired the idea. And in your case, it sounds like you had a real big epiphany at a well-known festival called Burning Man. Take us back to that moment in Burning Man and maybe talk a little bit about that epiphany you had, because you came from a career in Wall Street, which is very different than what you're doing now. So I'd love to know what happened at Burning Man that inspired you to make this kind of a life change.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. Well, you know, sometimes these things are super sudden and sometimes it happens over time. For me at Burning Man, what happened there that was so impactful is I met a life coach there that, you know, it's not exactly something that you expect to do when you go to Burning Man. Burning Man is like this incredible collection of creative energy. And everyone is dressed in, you know, their whatever is feeling good to them at the moment. And so there's really not a lot of indication of like who's who out in the real world there, right? But I met a life coach there who really opened my eyes. And you're right, I come from Wall Street and real estate development in New York City and was just seeking something else, I guess. Like that was fulfilling to a degree, but I don't think that it was as inspiring or fulfilling in a way that I thought my life would be. And so one of the things that this life coach uncovered for me is that true fulfillment in my life would come from service to others and not accumulation, which is what I had been doing for years. I had thought of, you know, wealth and making money and getting things as the source of happiness. And so it wasn't until I met Brian and engaged him after Burning Man that I started to see that there was another way. And that exploration uncovered how I could use my real estate development background and my finance background to the utmost service to others. And out of that inquiry, the RISE project was born. And the RISE project includes KINKARA, includes actually 4 other components. We have residences, we have a Waldorf-inspired school, we have KINKARA Retreat Center, we have a co-working studio, a certified organic farm, and it's all of those pieces coming together to provide a different way of living for families who are seeking that. That was my service to others.
What a wonderful chance meeting, and especially amongst the festival that large that you guys found each other. And, you know, sometimes serendipity makes things happen. And, you know, as far as the location, you know, this idea could happen in a lot of different places. What was it about Costa Rica for you?
So you'd think it'd be easy to find, and I looked all over the world, but you'd think it would be easy to find a location to do this project. But the reality is that it's really not. I knew it wouldn't be able to be done in the United States because it would be too expensive. I needed it to check off a number of boxes: proximity to the US, political stability, currency stability, great weather, crystal clear water, access to high quality food that we can grow or purchase in the valley, low cost of construction, amazing people, just the culture of Costa Rica and their reverence for the environment, the people themselves that are so sensitive and caring and loving. And all of these pieces came together to guide me to Costa Rica. And even within Costa Rica, this is the only place within the country that I would do this project. And so it's funny that you think, oh my gosh, you could do this anywhere in the world. But once you really, filtered out all the things that are most important to you, we landed in Costa Rica. And so thankful that we have.
Well, I think it's awesome that the land spoke to you like that. Jimena, you're a Costa Rican native. What has this meant for you, for to be a part of KINKARA, and what are you hopeful that people experience or think about Costa Rica and KINKARA when they come and experience everything that it is on your resort?
What I would like people to experience here in Costa Rica goes around culture, around what Costa Rica is. What about, in this case, KINKARA is.
Yeah, Pura Vida is such a wonderful saying. I've visited and worked in Costa Rica a couple of times. I've never vacationed there, which is so mind blowing to me. So I definitely on my list of things to do. In the Pura Vida culture, do you guys use that kind of term as a hello, a greeting? Like how many different ways is that saying used? Because when I was kind of introduced to it, it was really something that you use as a greeting to somebody else.
Yeah, it's a greeting. We have a lot of other greetings, but yeah, the Pura Vida is the one that each Costa Rican has this way of saying hello, and we really are Pura Vida.
Yeah, what a wonderful way to meet someone and offer them something right out the gate.
It's also a great way, like if you're an American and you just feel stuck on the language or something, you just say pura vida. Like, hello, it's goodbye, it's all good. Like it has so many meanings that if you're all of a sudden you're feeling like you're frozen, you just say, pura vida.
Well, speaking of an ambiance, Megan, you're leading retreats and kind of running that show, and it feels like from the website and what I've been able to gather that retreats are really kind of a staple in the business model of how KINKARA operates. Why do you think that is? Of all the different opportunities and ways that a resort like this could operate, why do you feel retreats are so important?
Just carrying over what we've talked about and the ability to share KINKARA and really create transformational travel experiences with folks, to have folks come from whatever their normal day to day is, come and experience the connection to the land, as Jimena and David have both spoke about, that connection, the sustainability, a different way of being, other folks who are also sharing that space in that same time in that same journey. The retreats are such a powerful conduit for that and for that transformation. It's one of my most favorite things about working in retreats is seeing someone on day one and seeing them on that last day. And in such a short period of time, the amount of transformation that can happen when folks allow it and just lean in with the process. From a business standpoint, it's a much more sustainable model for us. We do offer short-term stays as well, but that, it can bring in more per night revenue, but it's a little bit more volatile. They can have vacancy rates that are going to fluctuate, seasonality. In Costa Rica, we have our high season December through April, then our green season and our rainy season. So we see a big shift in the number of travelers that are coming through, but with retreats, you can really plan things out. You can see a typical roadmap would be 6 to 12 months when a retreat host picks and locks in on dates to execution. So we have a lot of visibility into what's coming. And if there's any gaps to bridge, we can use the short-term stays to really marry with that and really just help us to be more scalable, more profitable. We also are so fortunate that we have a lot of hosts that come back time and time again. and then also leveraging from their network to grow and bring in more profitable word of mouth business as well. It's been a really good win in multiple facets.
Do you see, and Megan, I'll ask you first, and David, I'd love to know what you think as well. The travelers, where are they coming from?
In our origins, a lot of it was international folks. The groups that were coming were from abroad. We have a strong foothold folks coming from North America, so Canada or the US. It's a quick trip over, but there's a lot that come from Europe as well, and then just from around. So that really was what we were seeing in the beginning, that it was a lot of foreigners coming in, but we really made a concerted effort to also focus on the folks that are here, that are in country, whether, they are nationals or folks that are just here as expats and things of that nature, but really stepping into that local community too. Because when folks are traveling, they really want that disconnect. They want to escape the world of technology, of hustle and bustle, and kind of go back to your roots and your origin. And that's what KINKARA is all about in our ethos, in our design, in the 800 acres of property that we have, rivers, waterfalls. So there's an opportunity for everyone to really step in and to explore that. And it's been really beautiful to see that unfold.
You mentioned something interesting, and it's great to hear that you're bringing in this global audience. David, you came from America to Costa Rica. You're an expat. What kinds of challenges did you face, in your professional life, opening up this business as an expat, and your personal life, bringing your family into Costa Rica? It in theory, it sounds like an amazing adventure, and then you start to break down the practicality of making those kinds of moves. I'm curious how that went for you.
So let's see. Let's start with business wise. I see like eternal opportunity here, like everywhere I go. Actually, it's the hardest part for me to restrain myself from wanting to like put attention on this or that, like, because all I see is opportunity. Coming from the United States, I just, yeah, there's plenty of ways and plenty of businesses that you could start here. If it's an area of passion for you or just a business opportunity. So I think some of the unique components here in Costa Rica are the labor laws. Those are very different from the United States. And so that's probably the biggest one with regard to starting a business. But I actually don't find it to be difficult to start something here. And what I actually tell people is it always feels to me like in the US, if you have, 10 things that you're trying to get right to make the business successful, you got to get like 8 of them right or else you fail, right? And here it feels like you got to get like 3 of them right. And then you're at least at a place where you can sustain yourself to like tweak and figure out those other ones. It's just a much less competitive environment. And that's really nice because it means there isn't the intensity of pressure of like, oh my gosh, I need more money, I need more personnel, I need more everything, So I don't think like starting businesses is difficult in Costa Rica, and I don't think it's difficult to identify, the ones that can be profitable. There are unique characteristics like that you need to figure out. Like I'll give you an example, like distribution. That's a real, if you're going to start a product business here, that's something that is a lot more challenging to find here in Costa Rica than in the United States. There's distributors all over the place. You'll be able to find someone in the US. Here, it's difficult. You may have to self-distribute. So I use that as an example of some of the unique environment components here. But overall, I think the business environment is great. And with regard to moving personally, I'm someone who like never looks backward. I think somebody asked me a year after living here, what did I miss about California? And I was thinking, gosh, I never even thought to think about that. Like, so everyone navigates change differently. For me, change is opportunity. It's exciting to me. And And the thing is like no one ever says like if you move somewhere you're not allowed to move back, right? So if it doesn't work out for you, you can move back. It's not a big deal. So to pressurize it that it's supposed to be this certain thing and how it's supposed to look like, to me, doesn't feel like an effective way to make a move that feels big. Like I think about what are the pieces that I need to put in place that are high leverage for creating the life that I want here. And I often tell people that to me, for our family and for those that we know, moving to Costa Rica is the highest leverage move you can make to up level your quality of life. You can look to cut budget or find a higher paying job or make sacrifices within the family, but those are all like tiny little things. Like make the one move that like changes everything in a massive way. That's what I envision Costa Rica.
That's a wonderful piece of advice. And when you kind of speak and look at challenges that way as opportunities, I think you can definitely turn it into a reframe. And so you can start to see what can you build versus what are you trying to get away from, and that makes me think, Jimena, about the challenges of an 800-acre resort and multiple retreats coming in, different groups of people, and your property looks gorgeous and there's beautiful tents and a large collection of them and things like that. What kinds of challenges do you see from an operations perspective?
I have to say, throughout the challenges that maybe we have gone through, one of them was the roads here are they're not paved road. So somehow the community started a project with the government to get paved road here, and we went through a couple of months with tough decisions how to get people here. So we had to go through another way. There was a really small bridge, and it was like people driving in a big bus and then transfer them to like small mini buses. But somehow it came out really good because we had two retreats that went through this, and they were really grateful when they got down or off the big bus because it was a night. The sky was full of stars, so somehow for them was magical. And when they came in back again, we had the pave already, the road paved already. So when they came back, they say, "Oh, we want to go the other way. It was better."
Yeah, it's a Pura Vida approach.
Exactly.
And Megan, what are some of the ways that you entice operators, planners, retreat providers to come in? And what are some fun retreats that you have planned coming up?
Really good question. KINKARA itself entices folks to come in, and it would be a very specific type, but also broad, of a host that would want to bring their group, one that really does want to connect back to nature and sustainability and focus on their work and have a container that provides for that. It could be a variety of styles of retreats, whether that's, this is just forward thinking for me, maybe art retreats that want to come in and take in the landscape that we have, or writing retreats, being connected into nature to be able to go in and be in a really creative space, or breathwork retreats. Of course, yoga retreats have been, a mainstay. There's a whole host of possibilities for folks, but KINKARA entices itself. And I've been in the retreat space here in Costa Rica for the past 7 years, and there are a lot of venues and there are a lot of choices just specifically in Costa Rica. Costa Rica calls a lot of hosts to come here and to bring their groups. But what we offer and that experience where a host can come and they know that everything is taken care for them down to the tiniest detail because of Jimena and her team, that it's going to be a top-notch experience. It's going to be an unforgettable experience for their guests. And that's what any host wants, is to create that transformation, be the conduit for their guests, and then we can be just an added value for them.
That's awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to be keeping track of the retreats that you have and trying to find a special one for myself and my wife. David, You kind of touched on this a little bit as far as advice for entrepreneurs maybe coming into Costa Rica, but what kind of advice do you have for, any entrepreneurs, regardless of where the location might be, that might be interested in wanting to do something in the experiential outdoor hospitality space?
It's a tough business, I would say. And you really, how I feel is when we have guests, these are like guests in your home. So you feel super accountable and responsible, even beyond things that are not in the contract or anything. So you really need to enjoy that. The gift of I think is the gift of anticipation, like being able to meet somebody's needs, ahead of time before they even know it. But it's also incredibly rewarding when you see the guests, what they're looking and feeling like when they first arrive, and then you see them on the last day when they're
Hmm.
leaving. It's like it'll move you to tears sometime. These people feel hyper connected to those that are there, and just have something that they're going to take back that they can draw on in their everyday life. And that doesn't matter whether they came for a dance retreat, a mastermind, healing, yoga, meditation, physical fitness, whatever. They've come there because they're passionate about it and they have something that they can bring home with them. And so it's, I think, specifically about glamping. I mean, this podcast is Glamptuary. Um, this and the environment, the actual climate is really important to consider. It is a constant battle for us and the tents with the climate. We have a full-time team of 4 or 5 people. All they do is take tents up and down, take furniture apart, bring it up here, so that we're changing, like taking them up and down every 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. It's a huge investment of time. Now, if we were in the Arizona desert or something like that, we'd have a different set of issues. But that's something to consider. We have to replace probably a third of the tents every single year. And so factoring that into the operational costs and your projections for profitability is important. And I know when we made this commitment to go the tent route, like there was nervousness for me around it. And we experienced that in the first year. Like it took us a couple years just to figure out how to properly care for these tents. And that meant that like the first batch of 30 tents, we essentially had to rebuy the next year. So um, it's incredibly rewarding, and um, it's going to take a lot of work. It's there are other businesses I think in opportunities in Costa Rica that I think would be a little easier, but maybe not as internally rewarding as seeing these folks come and truly have an incredible experience that will impact their lives and the lives of their families.
If I could share one other thing, when Jimena was speaking, that popped up about, folks and connection and community and what, really drives us. If you've seen our aerial view of the mandala garden, right? There's our movement space in the middle and then the garden there. And that space is so unique and so special to us as well, because each of the groups that come to Kinkara has a tree planting experience. And so each of those little pockets that are within that mandala garden represent a group that came. And Jimena shared a story before my time. There was a group and they were on a heart opening, a heart chakra day. And so the team got red flowers that would align with them and what they were focusing on in that day. And then they planted them. So each group becomes a community. They build these strong bonds, as David mentioned, but then there's also something in a remembrance and part of them and a piece of them that's also there, and that grows and continues to grow. And I really love that about the mandala garden. It's gorgeous and it's wonderful, and it's also a deeper meaning to it and a piece of everyone that's been there. It's really special.
That is really special. Jimena, you probably know every inch of the 800 acres. Where would you say your favorite place is?
I do have to say the mandala garden.
Okay.
Yeah, because there, like, yeah, the mandala garden and the Moren, it's more of, it's where the magic happens.
The mandala garden was like that was the genesis of Kinkara. Kinkara emerged out of that garden, and so it does hold a really special space for us, and just reflecting back on all the activities that happened in the center of the mandala garden is the yogashala called El Moren, and Moren is the Baruka word for like well-being, and are the roots of Kinkara. Even Kinkara, the name, it means the beginning or new in Baruka, and our slogan is the new path is the ancient one. All of that was meant to tap into and connect to the roots of the indigenous culture here, the Baruka, and that's how Kinkara emerged as the healing retreat center that it is.
It's a beautiful story. And now I know where I'm going to go to first when I visit. um, David, you did mention, Rise and a few other things that are beyond Kinkara. What are, kind of in a short, succinct way, what are the other things that you seemingly have time to do?
Well, I have time because we have an amazing team here that supports. And another business that I started here is Kombucha Culture, which is obviously a beverage company, and that has been just so much fun. It's just, and part of the reason I started, I had no beverage background whatsoever, by the way. It was just a desire to have a certain drink here, and so we started that, and we now sell nationwide. It's become a flourishing business. We just started exporting back to the United States and going global, and so you may think that the opportunities in Costa Rica are small, but they can be very, very large. And like I said, you can start them with minimal amounts of capital. So that has been a business that was always fun for me because I entered it saying like we are going to succeed or fail based on a completely honest expression of who we are. And unapologetically. So we've been irreverent and bold and innovative in that space. Getting CBD approved into our kombucha, being the first to hard kombucha. So that's been a lot of fun. But I would say I'm most passionate about the Rise community. That was birthed along with the birth of our daughter, Kira. And this is a family focused community for families with an entrepreneurial spirit that want to proactively up level their lives. It's not meant to be an escape from the world. It's meant to be this powerful platform and environment where we can raise our children in a play-based childhood versus a phone-based childhood, where we can teach them the values that allow them to emerge from childhood with confidence, resilience, empathy, emotional intelligence, the skills that really help them to have the life of their dreams as an adult. And so I'm most passionate about that. We've sold 30 lots to families who are building their homes. The school is underway. It's all coming together. And fortunately, some of the, interesting times around the world has encouraged a lot of families to come join us here so they can raise their children without that pressure and without that noise.
Well, it sounds like you got a lot of wonderful things going on. And Kinkara seems to maybe be a potential gateway into a new way of life. And so I think you're the way you're inviting people into this type of travel and allowing and creating space for travel to then become part of their everyday life is brilliant. I love it. I love what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really enjoyed this conversation. And you just probably went up a few notches on the bucket list. Well done. And yeah, I hope you guys have a beautiful day and pura vida.
Pura vida.
Pura vida.
Thank you,
Thanks, Bobby.
Bobby.
I'd like to thank all of the listeners and viewers who tuned in to this episode of the Glamptuary podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, and I'd also like to thank David Comfort, Megan Bowers, and Jimena Mora for their time. They are doing such a wonderful job with KINKARA, and I cannot wait to visit. If you're thinking about making a visit, first stop is their website, and that is www.kinkara.com. That is www.kinkara.com. And if you'd like to follow along on the Glamptuary podcast, you can find us on Apple, you can find us on Pandora, you can find us on Amazon, and you can find us on YouTube. And you can also find us at our official website, which is www.glamptuary.com. Again, that is www.glamptuary.com. Until next time, be well and namaste.